Hey, what's up guys? Alex is Tech. How you doing? And I got the OnePlus 3 here. The OnePlus 3. I've used this for about a month now as my daily driver. So this was my daily driver and I felt like I needed to dedicate a good amount of time to using this, to dedicate a good allotted chunk of my time using this phone as my only phone. And yeah, spoiler alert, pretty damn good phone. It's a very damn good phone, actually. So yeah, we'll talk about it right now. Roll our intro. When it comes to the OnePlus 3, there is a lot to talk about, and yet there's not much to say about it. We are looking at a very familiar design, and yet it is completely different because it is a full aluminum unibody now, and it's built really well. The edges are nice and round. The phone is very smooth. I would dare say this is the highest quality phone you can purchase for this $399 price point, at the moment at least, until the Axon 7 comes out, then we can compare that too. Aside from build quality, however, one of the main draws to this phone is the internals. This phone is housing a Snapdragon 820 processor with 6GB of RAM, and a 5.5-inch 1080p screen. So it's full HD just like the OnePlus 2 and the OnePlus 1 before it. And yet, we are getting a absolute steal of a deal when it comes to pricing, because we are getting 6GB of RAM and a Snapdragon 820. And I know there was a lot of controversy regarding 6GB of RAM, but there was an update that came out that lets you utilize all 6GB of RAM. So this is one of the first phones out in the market that gives you 6GB of RAM. And for the price point, it is very hard to fathom that we are getting these specs on this phone. Going back to the display really quickly, we are looking once again at a 5.5-inch 1080p screen with 401 pixels per inch. So the pixel density isn't as condensed as a lot of the high-end phones that are using Quad HD. However, the screen is pretty nice. It is a AMOLED screen. So this is a AMOLED screen that does saturate colors a little more. Blacks are a little darker. And in general, I just think this is a very crisp, nice display with great viewing angles, a nice smooth Corning Gorilla Glass 4 protected screen. Yeah, just ultimately, I have no qualms about this phone in terms of its display. I think it's a great display to consume media. So this phone actually gets really bright. The brightness goes really high on this, even on its lowest setting. When you drag the slider all the way down, it's still a very bright phone. So this AMOLED screen is pretty good in my opinion. Making its return from the OnePlus 2 is the slider button on the side. It's a little knob that you can shift up and down. When you do that, you can switch between your notification settings from silent notification to no notifications to all notifications. I actually didn't think I would be using this a lot, and I was actually pretty surprised that I do use this a lot. One minor gripe I have about this phone is that the aluminum body, the full aluminum body, is very slippery. So when you pull it out of your pant pocket, your backpack, or your purse, there is that off chance that you might fumble it and almost have it drop. And I'm pretty good with actually holding my phone in my hand without dropping it. I've never shattered any screens before, knock on wood. But this phone was very slippery. It's probably the second most slippery phone I've ever held in my life. The first one being the HTC One A9. This thing was the second one. So I actually got a skin for it, and it's Tech colors, purple and white. I really like the skin color here. But the texture definitely helps with the grip now, so I kind of eliminated that smooth metallic feel where it just slides if you have slippery hands too. If you have moisture on your fingers and your hands like I do, it slips a lot. So this definitely helps prevent that. And for those of you who really like naked phones, this might be a potential issue that you might have to think about. Let's move on to the performance of this phone. The OnePlus 3 is without a doubt a flagship phone in 2016. The OnePlus 3 performs very well. The Snapdragon 820 and 6GB of RAM lived up to my expectation of it. This is really fast flowing, quick, instantaneous kind of movement throughout the entire system. So Oxygen OS has actually grown a lot. This is a great iteration of Oxygen OS that I really like. It's running on Marshmallow, so it's running over Marshmallow. Android Marshmallow 6.0.1 is our release right now. So yeah, this is definitely a very nice device to use, and I have no worries about it. Another thing that kind of surprised me, not that I had low expectations at all, was the fingerprint scanner. The fingerprint scanner is located at the very bottom of the phone. It's an embedded button, so it's not a physical button. It's like if you've ever used the HTC One A9, you are very familiar with this concept. You just place your thumb over it, and it recognizes your fingerprint, and it's instant. It's quick. It doesn't make mistakes. I've never been locked out of this phone. I can't say the same about the iPhone SE, about certain other phones out there with finicky fingerprint scanners. So this is definitely one of the best fingerprint scanners I have ever used. Oh boy, okay, let's try to get into the camera. So the camera, we have a 16 megapixel back camera and a 8 megapixel front camera. The f-stop for both of them are f2.0. So pretty decent on the spec sheet. Has face detection, autofocus, OIS, LED flash on the back, and of course auto HDR, as most phones have. Focus on the back camera is a mixed bag. Sometimes it gives you really good quick focus. Other times it's not too great. It takes a while for it to focus, or it changes the exposure too much because it's trying to focus on a subject. But for most of the time, it is pretty reliable. I will give it a passing grade for the back camera in terms of autofocus. The front camera, the autofocus is pretty good. It's actually really good. The 8 megapixels definitely helps it, and it has pretty good autofocus. Haven't really needed to tap on my face or any other parts that I need to get in focus using the front camera. The front camera is pretty good. In low light, the OnePlus 3 still somewhat struggles with trying to get things in focus, with exposure. It struggles at times, but it still is a much better camera than previous generations, and it is perfectly acceptable in my opinion. I definitely think this is very usable. And here are a couple little snippets of the front and back camera usage for video recording that I did at San Diego Comic-Con. So you can take a look at that and judge the footage by the quality of the phone.
Fastest man alive. This is the DC All Access Top 10 Flash stories you've never read.
Kicking off the list is Flash and Green Lantern, The Brave and the Bold, a miniseries that tracks the lifelong friendship of Barry Allen and Hal Jordan. Each issue takes place at a different point in their lives and shows the sometimes ordinary side of two extraordinary characters, from camping trips to double dates to personal tragedies.
In Firing Line, Barry Allen accidentally travels through time to World War II.
And be sure to bring your Comic-Con back to life by downloading the free
That's awesome. That's a mom's partner. Wow. That's so cool. And for those of you wondering, yes, indeed, the OnePlus 3 does play Pokemon Go, and it plays Pokemon Go probably as well as any phone out there in the market right now. This is a very good, well-performing, solid device. 6 gigabytes of RAM definitely helps. It loads up the game really quickly when the server is actually up. So out of all the phones I've been using, this is the one that's most reliable in my opinion. And the video you're seeing right here that's playing is actual gameplay recorded on the OnePlus 3 while on my journey for my vlog. Be sure to subscribe for that. On my journey to catch the world's weakest CP Pokemon. I'm trying to see if there's a single-digit Pokemon out there in the world. So be sure to subscribe to that. But as you can see the video on the video, it performs smoothly. Everything works really nicely. This phone definitely doesn't bog anything down. And I'm actually, this is very reliable when I'm playing Pokemon Go. Whereas using other phones, I haven't had a great experience, to be honest. And I I know it's easy for us all to blame the server when when a phone isn't performing well, but guys, it's not always the server's fault, especially when you have two phones at the same time performing it, playing the game, and one of them plays it and the other one force crashes. You know, like, we can't always blame the server, especially if I'm in the same location. And this phone is reliable, in my opinion, playing Pokemon Go. Oh, did something pop up? Oh, I thought something popped up. But yeah, so Pokemon Go works really well on this. No concerns about it for me. No qualms about it. Did I use the right qualms? But yeah, I like the phone for Pokemon Go. So unfortunately, as with other phones, it can't be all good. There has to be something negative about the phone. There's no perfect phone out there. And for the OnePlus 3, one of the big problems we have here is the bottom firing speaker. So I know a lot of phones have bottom firing speakers, and I do complain about them a lot. And here is one of the reasons why. So the phone has one bottom firing speaker. It gets relatively loud. It gets actually really loud. However, when you're holding it to consume media in landscape mode, which basically everybody does, you cover it with your palm, with your hands, with your fingers, and this is a very, very, very easily covered speaker. Here, take a listen to this. And of course, now we come to the arch nemesis of every single mobile device in the history of the world, and that is battery life. So we're looking at a 3,000 milliamp battery using a AMOLED screen, so that kind of helps it, but we are not looking at good battery life. This is average to below average right now. I'm getting 2.5 to 3 hours of screen on time with my usage, which obviously I've mentioned in previous videos. That is pretty heavy, especially now with Pokemon Go. It just automatically kills the battery. But there is one saving grace in regard to the OnePlus 3, and that is dash charge. This thing is just really quick. I can plug the phone in, and for the first time in my life, I can actually rely on it being really fast to charge. Like, I know quick charge 2.0 and 3.0 are pretty solid and they give me good results, but this thing just, I'm very confident in this one. I can go home and in 10 minutes I can feel very confident that I can be out for another 8 hours at nighttime catching Pokemon and feel like my phone won't die because of the dash charge. So it replenishes the battery extremely quickly. I can do a video about this later, but it is just it's unbelievable. I've never experienced any charging like this before. If you've seen any of my previous reviews, you know that my reviews have like a bit of a format where I don't really talk about everything that needs to be talked about. I usually only mention the things that are relevant to my experience with the phone, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. And whether it's a popular opinion or not a popular opinion, I will state it if I feel like it influences my opinion of the phone, you know? And so there's a lot of stuff that I leave to other reviewers. You can go to check out other reviews. I'm sure you guys do that anyway, like good consumers do. And it's been said 100 times, so I don't feel like we need to talk about that stuff. And I feel like for this review, I don't have anything to say. Everything functions well and fine. There's no really great thing. There's no really bad thing. There's nothing really great, nothing really bad. This is just a good phone. It's just a solid phone for a very, very affordable price. $400 is a very affordable price. There is absolutely no argument for that. A lot of people argue about what affordable is. Affordable is something that is much cheaper than what other people are selling. That's basically what affordable means to me. And so this phone is half of what you would get for another Snapdragon 820 phone, except for the ZTE Axon 7, which is also another phone we're going to check out. But compared to the S7 Edge, the G5, all the other flagship phones, this is absolutely affordable. And yeah, it's just overall a very solid phone. Nothing too great, nothing too bad. Just very, very solid with good specs, good performance, and it looks pretty nice. It's a nice looking phone. I've gotten a lot of questions asked about this when I was using it in the field, out in the real world. People were like, "Whoa, what is that? What is this phone?" Oh, it's the OnePlus 3. Oh, what's the OnePlus 3? And that's where they learn. So, yeah, once again, my name is Alex from SipNoTech. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe, like the video, check out our social media, because we got a lot of cool stuff. And thank you guys so much for all your subscription, every comment. Thank you guys. We'll try our best to answer everything. We've been getting a lot of comments, and that's great. That's all we ever ask for people to watch our videos and to talk to us. So, once again, thank you guys so much. And I will be back very soon with another review, unboxing, and all the other videos we do here. So I'll see you guys next time. Or difficult, there's definitely not going to be any issues with frame dropping here, nothing to worry about. But let's switch back to Silly Slide.